A very good Tuesday to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to today's European Outlook. We've certainly got plenty of winteriness across many areas of UK and Ireland, thanks to west, northwest, even northerly winds that are blowing and reinforcing that Arctic air that they kind of moderated slightly over the last 24 hours as the area of low pressure exited. Was seen slightly milder air wrapping around the northern flank of the low, but we are starting to drill that Arctic air back south once again. And as we lay that carpet of reflective white, we are going to see particularly cold nights coming up, especially as high pressure starts to topple in over the UK ahead of a significant surge of warm air as we move through the upcoming weekend. But you can see here that we've got plenty of wintry showers across parts of Wales, through the North Midlands, up into northern and western portions of England. Perhaps falling as rain down at low levels along the coastline, but get inland and with any elevation, we're seeing the continuation of these snow depths topping up. Speaking of snow depths, this is according to the Met Office projections at the 20Z this evening in terms of snow covered ground. I do have a few snow depths with regards to Scotland, but unfortunately, I don't have for England and Wales. I do know that there's a few spots that's got to have, especially along the spine of the Pennines, the Peak District, parts of Yorkshire, County Durham, Northumberland, across the Lancashire, Cumbria, even parts of the Borders region, parts of Mid and North Wales, across parts of Southern Ireland. We're probably seeing some places 6 to 12 inches, so you're talking a half to a foot of snow across some places, especially as these showers continue to rattle in through the Cheshire Gap, for example, the Manchester area, and especially once you get up over, Saddleworth Moor and places like that, you're probably seeing significant snow amounts. Now, blowing and drifting is another thing where we're seeing that some big drifts. Chris, in the Strathdon area of Aberdeenshire, showing some significant drifts in that general area with the strong gusty winds blowing and drifting the snow around, causing issues with travel, etc., etc. But you can see here we've got a lot of snow on the ground in parts of North and Mid Wales, up the spine of the Pennines, Cumbrian Fells, Southern Uplands, the Borders, and then once you get north of the Central Belt, we've got some high parts of the Central Belt that do have snow cover. But it's once you get north of that into the Central and North Highlands, we're talking about a decent amount of snow, especially away from the coast. Even here at Marfogan Weather HQ, it's been snowing off and on through the day. I know Lee at Highland Weather has been talking about the snow falling there, and pretty much throughout the course of yesterday as well as today. So that wind is certainly catching the Carbridge area near Aviemore. But generally, according to the Highland Weather Network, this is the current depths as of today and the time of recording. So you can see here that we have got as much as 8 centimeters at the first. We've got 15 centimeters at Loch Liscarnock. I may have to take a little trip up there if the temperatures get close to minus 18 over the next few days. Obviously back on the night shift, snow-covered roads, dealing with that, and really off and on since November, I've been dealing with snow-covered roads. So it's really you start to get more and more used to it as the season progresses. But you can see here 6 centimeters at Altnahar. We've got as much as 11 centimeters at Aviemore, 4 at Aboyne Gliding Club, and also Dice at the airport at Aberdeen to the north side of the city, seeing 5 centimeters of snow. So a decent layer of snow-covered ground is now firmly established. Back to the snow showers as we progress through. You can see here over parts of Northern Ireland, we're seeing a wintry mix here of rain, sleet, and snow. We've also got some significant snow continuing to pile in across parts of Argyll, Loch Arbor, and then extending up through the West Highlands and into the Central Highlands as well. We've been picking up on some fairly hefty snow showers here. Also aboard that strong northerly wind, providing these convective showers that can really start to really lay down the snow cover when you get these feeder bands moving in for a couple of days on end. This is the latest visible satellite imagery showing we've got this bank of cloud to the south. That's the cold front area of low pressure now moving into southern Norway and Denmark. We're seeing gusty winds here. We'll look at the pressure in a second, but the cold air is coming back in, getting drawn southwards on the backside of that low. Looking at the pressure chart then, this is off Medio Seal, and you can see that if we skip back, we had pressure into the mid 950s in millibars, so a pretty deep area of low pressure. And then as that system pushes into southern Norway, strongest winds on the southern flank, so very strong winds coming into the Danish coast here. But it's as we continue to play through, you start to follow the lines of equal pressure, the isobars, and they're starting to draw that cold air back from quite high latitudes. Really, for a day or so there, we had that slightly milder air mixing in around the circulation itself, meaning that we've seen rain rather than snow. We've seen temperatures rising during the course of the day. We've seen a bit of a thaw also. The problem is, as soon as the sun sets, the temperatures drop back below freezing once again, and you've got a significant ice risk, and that will be the case, as was the case yesterday. It will be the same tonight. Looking at the UK current pressure chart, got that northerly flow here, so plenty of showers continuing to rattle in. Further south with shelter, so places like the Central Belt, southern Scotland, northern England, through the Midlands here, where the winds are lighter and the skies are clearer, away from those showers, the temperatures are going to drop pretty quickly during the course of tonight. Would not surprise me if we see a couple of double digits below freezing in southern Scotland, northern England, perhaps even parts of Wales, if you get the shelter from the wind. And even across parts of Ireland and Northern Ireland, we're going to see some pretty cold temperatures. But that cold is going to grow stronger as we progress through, particularly Thursday and into Friday night. This is the current temperature profile. So we're talking about generally mid-single figures across parts of the southwest and along the south coast. Then get yourself north into southern England, the Midlands, the north. You're generally a degree or two either side of freezing. Into southern and central Scotland, same thing here, and then into the far north also. But we've got brisk northerly winds that is essentially keeping the temperature on the thermometer anyway slightly above the freezing mark. But it is a bitterly cool wind out there, to say the least. This is the current wind chills, and in exposure, we're talking about anywhere from close to the zero mark, where winds are lightest. But we've got the temperature, real field temperatures -6 to as much as -10 Celsius in a few spots. So it is certainly raw in that wind. Looking at the current wind speeds, according to Meteor Seal, we've got some very gusty winds over Orkney, the north and northeast of Scotland, as can be seen here, 50-60 kilometres per hour. Still breezy across more southern areas across England, Wales, but generally not quite as strong, especially where you've got some shelter. Over the Pennines, for example, we're seeing some gusty winds that may cause issues with blowing and drifting. This was the update from Lee earlier this morning on the Highlands and Islands weather Facebook page. So I don't know.
How's it going, everyone? Out here in Carbridge again. We're doing the another day of heavy snow showers. It's become pretty heavy this morning. We've seen some really heavy showers moving south. As I mentioned in the forecast this morning, we've seen this band of really heavy stuff come south, producing pretty grim conditions on the road. This is a main road through the village here. A lot of roads through Moray and Aberdeenshire, to the east of here, are looking pretty grim this morning. There's some really heavy snow moving south.
So that's a little snapshot of Lee's update. Do check him out on both Facebook and Twitter if you want to know more from Lee. But that was the scene essentially in the Carbridge area a little earlier this afternoon. And even here at Marflogan Weather HQ, this was a little video from out the bedroom window this afternoon. So again, snowy conditions even close to sea level this afternoon, off and on throughout the course of the day. That will continue through the overnight tonight. And obviously where you've got spells of clearer sky, the ice risk really does become quite significant through the course of this evening. So as higher pressure begins to build in, there is a real problem here with temperatures dropping more and more as we progress through the second half of this week. If we look at this chart here of weather charts, this is the RPH model we're going to look at today, and you can see that area of low pressure moving in the southern portions of Norway and Sweden. Strongest winds on the southern flank affecting Denmark perhaps, parts of northern Germany and the Low Countries. It's also driving in very mild conditions. If we look at the European temperatures here, real quick, you can see that we've got the milder air continuing to drive and penetrate deeper into the continent, which is rather interesting. So there's the strong winds, obviously associated with this southern flank of that sub 960 millibar low. Put on temperatures, and you can see that we've got the chilliest air up across far northern Norway, Sweden, and Finland. We're starting to see slightly colder air getting drawn around the backside of that low, now starting to hook in underneath, bringing something slightly cooler across Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, even northern portions of France. But if we play back through this loop, you can see how the mild temperatures were very much present around this time last night, 12, 13 Celsius, way above the average. Cooler across northern UK, slightly less cold across the south of the UK, but that is now changing as we start to see the Arctic air getting drawn in around the backside of that feature itself. But it's as you look at this arpegge model here, that system then moves into the continent, bringing all sorts of hazardous conditions. We've got this next feature here that is running kind of northeastwards, clipping the far south of the UK. But according to the arpegge model itself, it's not really showing much in the way of snow over southern portions of England. It looks as if it's going to stay generally just to the south here. All the while, we've still got that northerly fleet of air, but you notice high pressure over and just the south of Iceland here. That is going to eventually start to replace these northerly winds. And then with clear skies, light winds, and a good snow covered ground, we're going to see maximum radiational cooling taking place. Would not surprise me if we see minus 15 even in England and Wales, and an approach on minus 20 somewhere in Scotland as we progress through Thursday night and into Friday. But even Wednesday into Thursday, we're going to see bitterly cold conditions develop. So as we play through this loop, winds start to drop off, the high kind of topples in over the northern UK, and it's this essentially kind of just locks in place the cold, feeds off the snow covered ground, and we're going to see the temperatures really, really tumble. But it's a relatively short lived peak in this cold spell, because what's going to start to happen is we're going to start to see the pressure, uh, high pressure, during the course of the early weekend settling in. According to the arpegge model, it sticks around a little bit longer, but then eventually what will happen is we're going to start to pick up in southwesterly winds, and we're going to see a replacement of this cold air. So looking back at the snow depth chart, let's just play through the next day or so here. We continue to see these snow depths increase with those showers blowing in from a northwesterly direction. This is during late Wednesday, so tomorrow evening. Notice that we've literally got no snow apart from high ground of what would that be? It looks like Devon to me, slightly to the east of Cornwall. We've got a little bit of snow seen by the model, but you notice that we're not really seeing much in the way of snow according to the the Met Office model. Sorry, as we progress through the course of tomorrow. So that system stays to the south. But we'll look at another model in just a second. I just need to watch time slightly because I need to head off to work. Notice here that we're starting to see an increase in snow over southwestern Scotland, for example. That's the milder air actually bumping into the colder, and the moisture, sorry, bumping into the colder and actually providing some transient snow. But that will start to melt away as milder air mixes in. Let's very quickly, by the way, look at another model run with regards to this snow potential tomorrow, and we'll see what it's indicating here. So let's have a look at the UK view, and we'll look at the ECMWF, which tends to be a little bit overdone in terms of snow depths. And I've actually got a video that I'm going to show you that I pre-recorded, probably release that later on tonight, showing the potential that this mild spell coming up at the weekend is actually going to live longer than what was initially thought, even by myself, even though I knew that we would likely see a change to milder during the middle and second half of this month. So we played through this loop. You can see here that it is not really indicating much in the way of snow across the far south of the UK here as we progress through the course of tomorrow and even into the early portions of what day would that be? Thursday. Yeah. So play through the ECMWF. Back to the here and now. Northerly winds, seeing the snow showers continuing. Yeah, that system actually stays over France as opposed to southern UK. Looks as if the cold air that is actually forcing that system to stay south of the British Isles overall, which is quite interesting. Let's finish off by looking at the temperature projections of the Met Office model for the coming nights, because it looks as if we do have some, like I've already said already, particularly cold nights coming up. So let's look at the 2 meter temperatures. We'll get to the this evening, and again, widespread below freezing, maybe a degree above where you've got strongest winds and exposure, but the widespread 0 to perhaps a few spots minus 7, 8, 9, possibly a minus 10. Southern Scotland, Northern England, where you've got the shelter and you've got the clear skies during the course of this evening. So these are the temperatures as we're waking up Wednesday morning. So say 6Z tomorrow. You've got a few -7 showing up in the heart of central Wales, for example. Perhaps -8, -9 over parts of the Cumbrian Fells, North Pennines, into parts of Durham and Northumberland down in the Yorkshire as well. So we've got a particularly cold night coming up tonight in these areas, and then as we move, even at day 08Z tomorrow, we've got -10, -11 Celsius over the what would that be? Kind of the North Pennines around the A66 area, Lincoln west to east, Trans-Pennine routes. We're going to see some very cold temperatures. So -15 showing up over this the spine of the Pennines tonight. This is at 09Z tomorrow. Then we stay a degree or so above the freezing mark. Where there's lying snow, we may struggle to see freezing tomorrow. And then we do it all again tomorrow. There's -15 showing up here once again. Widespread double digits below freezing over portions of northern England. We've got a -14 down in the southern uplands as well. So a very, very cold night coming up tonight over northern England, southern Scotland. Tomorrow night, we're going to see the more likely widespread double figures below the freezing, especially where there's snow on the ground. This is Thursday morning, -16 showing up over northern portions of England, -11 over the southern uplands. Even across the Northwest Highlands, we're seeing temperatures around the double figures below freezing as well. Looks to Friday morning where the core of the high is going to settle in. This is where we've got some particularly cold numbers showing up. Widespread teens below freezing. There's a -17 to the south of Edinburgh over the Pentlands, for example. We've got -16, -17 Celsius over parts of the Cairngorm Plateau, for example, into Central Highland, Northwest Highland. So it's going to turn very, very cold indeed. And then we're going to start to see milder conditions moving in as we progress Saturday into Sunday. And it looks as if it may linger for longer than perhaps I even thought. So check out the video that I released. I recorded anyway late last night. I'm going to publish that video later on so you can watch that as well. So plenty of reason to stick around, like and subscribe, and see you next time with more. Bye for now.